Breaking news that will impact every Rhode Island student this fall. Rhode Island Governor McKee announcing today that he is signing an executive order mandating masks for all students.
He also called on the Rhode Island House and Senate to reconvene immediately to restore some of the emergency powers that they recently scaled back.
12 News reporter Anita Buffoni was at today's COVID-19 briefing and joins us now with the breaking details. Anita?
Well, Shannon and Mike, that universal mask mandate in schools comes after Governor McKee resisted doing so for weeks. And what will happen if students don't follow those mask mandates? That remains to be seen. One by one, school districts were deciding their masking policies, but now the state is making the decision for them. Masks will be worn by staff and students in the fall.
Until we can vaccinate more students, we need all students in masks.
The Delta variant continues to be a concern. The health department pointing to data that masks help prevent the spread of that more contagious strain.
Sadly, we are seeing across the country that schools with loose masking policies or no masking policies are seeing outbreaks of COVID-19. We want to learn from that.
The health department believes the, quote, Delta peak will happen in the next couple of weeks. Rhode Island is already seeing a gradual rise in hospitalizations. As a result, the Cranston Field Hospital will be on standby to reactivate if it is needed.
We're not at a point where we need to utilize this site yet, but it's an enormously complex operation to get an alternative hospital site up and running.
The governor also called in the General Assembly to reconvene immediately in order to restore some of his emergency powers that were recently scaled back by lawmakers. But legislative leaders fired back a short time later, saying they wished McKee was more forthright in their conversations. Now, if students don't follow those mask mandates, it's unclear what will happen, but Ride said that those details will be outlined specifically in schools' reopening plans when they are submitted to the Department of Education by the end of next week. For now, live in Providence, I'm Anita Buffoni, 12 News.
Developing news now after saying it would be up to school districts. Governor McKee plans to require masks in schools statewide this fall.
He made that announcement during this afternoon's COVID briefing, and he has just issued a new state of emergency specifically related to the Delta variant.
At the same time, we're seeing pushback against another state requirement. Large group of people protesting outside the State House this afternoon against the Department of Health mandating vaccines for workers at all state licensed health care facilities.
12 News reporter Anita Buffoni brings us up to speed on this afternoon's developments. Anita?
Well, Shannon and Mike, just 2 days ago, Governor McKee made clear a statewide mask mandate in schools was not the path he wanted to take, but today that has changed. McKee said until more students are eligible to get the COVID-19 vaccine, students will be masked this fall.
I want to be crystal clear. All students will be wearing masks when school starts in September.
What was once the decision of individual school districts is now a mandate statewide. Masks will be worn by staff and students when school starts in the next few weeks.
Masks work. They help in limiting or preventing the transmission of COVID-19.
With the goal of getting 90% of all eligible students vaccinated, dozens of vaccine clinics will be set up at schools and community centers. Aside from schools, the governor at this point is not ready to issue a universal indoor mask mandate, but that could change depending on the state's data.
Right now, I don't see that as something that we should be doing today. You could be doing it next week, but at this point in time, let's get people vaccinated.
The, quote, Delta peak is expected in the next few weeks. To prepare, the state is ready to reactivate its Cranston Field Hospital if it is needed. Testing capacity will also be increased. The governor announced Thursday he is calling on the General Assembly to reconvene immediately to restore some of his emergency powers that were recently scaled back by lawmakers. But legislative leaders fired back a short time later, saying they wished McKee was more forthright in their conversation. Now, as for mandatory vaccinations for state workers, the governor has not yet decided on that, but says there will likely be a policy put in place. More information is expected on that next week. Live in Providence, I'm Anita Buffoni, 12 News.